Today's COVID update is brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price but stay for the service.
Welcome back to Open Your Eyes. We're now moving into our first segment, and this surrounds the hiking of the price of chicken. Now, in with us, we have the manager of the Belize Poultry Association, Armando Cowo. He's on the screen, of course. Mr. Cowo, good morning, sir.
Morning.
Ah, there we go. We hear you.
Sure.
And how are you today?
I'm fine.
All right. So, you know, when this news broke the other day, it was definitely something eye-opening or eyebrow-raising, and I'll tell you why. There's so many vendors right now. When the pandemic started, the people didn't know what to do or what to resort to. Some folks lost jobs and then eventually moved into making food for a living. And then now we're hearing about the price hike of chicken. Tell us, what is causing this?
All right, before I go into that, let me just say that for the record, when the pandemic hit, we were all in the same boat. There was no one better off. Not the producer, not the consumer, not the restaurateur, not the everyday worker. Mm-hmm. However, we took our losses last year. There were considerable losses. You might all recall we ended up giving away some of our products to different communities that we identified because we just didn't want to bury it. That's the reality of it. Yeah. Our freezers got full because people stopped buying for a while the pandemic panicked everyone and people started, I guess, saving their money, waiting for the next blow. But at the end of the day, we came afloat. The Belizean consumer supported us. We went into production again and we managed to meet the demands of the market. Yeah. Albeit there was a little shortage for some time.
That's what I wanted to get into, Armando, to kind of set the backdrop for the conversation. The impact of the pandemic, we realized just how connected the different industries are, especially to tourism. And of course, one of the things that happened when there was that total demand drop from the tourism sector is that we saw a lot of producers having excess stock. Let's talk about that loss there first, so we can understand just how much we are consuming locally and how much of that was attributed to the tourism sector.
Yeah. What transpired last year was how should I say it? Phenomena that we didn't expect, not in terms of the pandemic, but in terms of the market response. I mean, traditionally, we have always said, okay, you know, there's the Belizean consumer, there's a tourist who comes and eats at our restaurants and therefore consumes our products. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, when we started looking at depopulating our barns because, okay, the tourism was wiped out, we ran into problems with the Belizean consumer because if you remember, there was a shortage following that. Yeah. And therefore, we had to go back to the drawing board and put production plans in place that will meet that market demand. And we were very grateful that the Belizeans responded positively to the products that we have out there and started consuming it. And you know, we were kind of stumped in the sense that our sales just, you know, started going back up and up and up. And we were saying, well, what impact does the tourism have? But we realized that Belizeans were consuming the product more, maybe because they were confined at home. I don't know. Maybe because they couldn't go to Chetumal to buy pollo brew. I don't know. Yeah. We don't have all the factors played out already. But
it's a bit of a guessing game, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a bit of a guessing game because the market has its own whims and ups and downs.
So you went from excess stock because all of a sudden people weren't buying the same amount of chicken that you projected you were going to have last year around this time.
Exactly.
And then, so we saw some deals, some giveaways, and then you moved into a high demand time where people were buying more than you projected because they weren't traveling, they weren't moving around, and they were cooking at home.
That's right. And so we met that demand. We met that demand, and we must say we appreciate their appreciation of our products. So we finished 2020 with losses due to the pandemic. I mean, squarely on the pandemic, we ended up with a loss of approximately 20 million Belize dollars to the industry. And this loss is spread across the industry. It's not just one product. I mean, it's not. We need to understand how the industry production cycle moves. I mean, we have the grandparent flocks in Belize that produce the fertile eggs that we use to hatch and put the broilers into the barns. Some countries don't have the grandparent flocks in their country. They buy the fertile eggs every week from the US, and we don't. And that helps us a lot in meeting our demands with the Belizean public. However, we had to depopulate some of the grandparent flocks. We had to depopulate some of our layers. We had to depopulate some of our barns, and you know, the chicken just keeps growing. It won't stop growing. I mean, we can't say, well, okay, the market is not responding this week, so therefore the chicken can be allowed to grow more. So we still had to slaughter. We still had to process. We still had to put them in freezers. Yeah. And at the end of the day, we ended up giving away a lot of those products. Even the depopulated grandparent flocks were given away live so that people could make their own soup at home, or for whatever other reason they might have wanted it. All of that went out to the public. Now we have a situation here in 2021 where we are faced with a hard question. The issue of the pricing of our raw materials. As you know, animal feed is basically corn and soybean. That's where they get their energy and most of their proteins from. The price of corn is currently at 30 cents per pound. And the price of soybean is currently at 62 cents per pound. Wow. Traditionally, at this time of the year, we are paying anywhere up to like around 26 cents per pound corn, and 46, sometimes 48 cents per pound soybean. Now, the math is very clear. I mean, we have a 4 cents difference in corn, and we have 12 cents difference per pound in soybean. So we cannot absorb that shock of price right now, currently the way things are, because of our losses last year. So this happens normally every year, but sometimes we observe the shock that the consumer doesn't even notice.
Okay. Well, that was going to be my question. Just looking at the change in costs with the chicken feed, which is the corn and the soybean. Yeah. When did that happen, and what's the reason behind that? How normal is this as a part of the cycle?
Let me give you an example here.
Yeah.
It's normal for the prices of everything to be cyclical.
That's right.
I mean, even if you look at the world market, prices of corn and soybean, sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down. And depending what you're buying, the only stable price is what they would call the spot prices. That's people who are buying on demand and not in the futures, like what the farmer planted right now and will be harvested in September, October. That's already being sold on the futures market. Those values vary. But on the spot market is what is being held in grain silos, and those are being sold at a more stable price. Here we have a situation where we have a same cyclical event in country, and we know that up to a certain point, the industry can absorb some of that shock. Because our products, again, goes up and down. I mean, last year we had some of our products being, the price went up, then it went down, then it went up a little bit, and then it went down, and finally it stabilized after September. It went way down. In the beginning of the year, we were at 244 cents per pound. Similar situation to what we're going into right now. And then at the end of the year, we ended up with an average of 232 per pound of whole chicken. Now, if you notice, that's a whole 12 cents price difference at the beginning and the end of the year. Right now, we're looking at the same scenario where the prices are going up, but we cannot absorb it like last year.
Okay.
The cushion, the economic cushion is not there for us to be able to do anything about it. I mean, we have to face the facts.
Yeah. Is fuel factoring?
We had our losses last year. The price that we are giving out to the public right now is strictly reflective of the grain market prices right now.
Okay.
We're not recovering any cents that we lost last year. That loss is a loss, full stop. That doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
We're not carrying that forward. Our farmers took the hit, and that's it.
Yeah. Is fuel factored into this as well?
Sorry?
Fuel.
No, the fuel is not being factored into this. This is what I'm saying. The prices that you are seeing is reflective only of the grain prices that are currently on the market. The 30 cents per pound for corn and the 62 cents for soy. That is the adjustment we are doing to meet that specific cost.
Armando, I think you've outlined very clearly how there typically are fluctuations from time to time. But clearly, you've seen the outcry from the public since the announcement has been made that there would be another adjustment. And many of us can assume that that has a lot to do with the economy and where people are financially.
Yeah.
Tell us about the decision-making process within the association to approve the adjustment in this price. What was that like?
It was not an easy decision that we arrived at. I mean, we all know that the situation currently in the country. We're not blind to that. We know that we are not out of the pandemic as yet. We don't know how long this pandemic will last. We really are working with a lot of unknowns and a lot of uncertainty. And that makes our task more difficult. However, like I said, we're trying to accommodate just the increase in the prices of grains. Like your co-host asked earlier, he asked about the fuel. We're not adding in the fuel to this yet. So that's not a factor right now. Okay. We are hoping that we can weather this storm together. And we are trying as much as possible where we can assist the general Belizean population by absorbing some of the added cost that is coming on, and then see how we work with them. It's not that we want to inflict more pain on anyone. It's not that we want to try to recover what has been lost. As I said earlier, that's not a factor here.
Okay.
The factor here is we're strictly talking about the price of grains. And last year, we saw the same scenario. And this year, it's playing out again. At this time of the year, the grain prices go up. Like I said, they would normally be up by up to 26 cents. However, this year it's went up to 30 cents. And that's what is creating this bump in the pricing. We want to assure the public whole that this is just temporary. This is not permanent. This is not something like how should I say it? You will be seeing from now until whenever we feel like, no, it's not like that. We respond to market demands. We respond to market needs. And most of all, we respond to our customers. We have to make sure, and we want everyone to know, that at the end of the day, the price will go down. By how much at this point in time, I cannot say, but we know it will go down. I mean, I'm giving you the example of last year. Last year at this time, we were at around $2.42, 44 cents per pound. And then it went down towards the end of the year. We ended up the year with an average of $2.32. So it went down 12 cents.
12 cents, yeah.
In the course of 1 year. So again, this is the same scenario. We expect this to be up here for right now, maybe a couple months from now. It will, because history has shown us that we normally go with these prices like maybe 2-3 months, and then after that it goes down, and it keeps going down, until we finish the year at a lower price.
But,
and
Armando, what what is causing the hike in prices of grains?
Unfortunately, I can't answer that question. I wish I could, but the grain growers, I'm not even sure if they have an association, but they're the ones driving the prices, and I have really no idea where they are with that. But we do intend to meet with them sometime early next week. I'm trying to get the actors together to let us have a meeting and see what can be done. Yeah. And how maybe we can work better with them in the future.
And for clarity, especially for Belizeans to know, where do we get our grains from?
Our farmers produce the grains in country. We are 100% self-sufficient in the production of corn, and we're at about 80% self-sufficient in the production of soybean. So we do import some soybean, but at the moment, I don't know. I'm not sure if we're using imported soybean at the moment, and maybe that might be the reason why it's at 62 cents. Because as we all know, the cropping cycle in Belize is over. Soybean is normally planted in the country in November.
Okay.
So October, November, so that harvest is already in. And I don't know if they're finishing off the imports before they start releasing the local produce. I have no idea. I cannot speak for them.
Last year, we saw the rise of Belizean consumers, actually, of chicken. We saw that, and this was without tourism being at anywhere in our country. Now we're seeing the trickling back in of tourists. Are we ready for this hike in tourism?
Yeah, the production capacity is in place to meet the demands of both the Belizean consumer and trickling in of tourists, as you said. For you guys to understand a little bit better how we work, we have freezing capacity at our processing plants that carry forward 500,000 pounds. It's about, amongst all of them, it's like 1 million pounds of chicken is in the freezers as a reserve at any point in time.
1 million pounds of chicken.
So
that's right.
Yeah, and what you're trying to, I think, to illustrate is that there is sufficient stock for the local market, as well as, because one of the things we don't know, and there are many things we still don't know in this pandemic, is what the rebound for tourism is going to look like.
Yeah.
You know, we're all optimistic that it's going to happen, and there are projections being made, but we don't really know for sure. So the market is prepared for that.
Yes. Yeah. Like I said, we're trying to iron out the uncertainties to a certain point in the market. We are trying to understand where the next flow of demand will come from.
Yeah.
And we're trying to get a grip on that, and it's the only way we can move forward together. Because, I mean, if we don't sell the produce, then there will be more losses.
Yeah.
And therefore, we cannot sustain much more losses. I mean, we're trying to measure the production to the pace where the consumer is taking us.
Well, we know Belizeans have a taste for chicken. That we're sure of.
Yes.
And we know that it's probably the most sought after protein when people go to the supermarkets, and they're concerned of what the cost will be now. Bring me back to another issue here. So the Poultry Association has made the decision. Are all individual producers following through with the same price adjustment?
Sorry, I was interrupted by...
I'm saying the Poultry Association, you represent the association. Have all the producers decided that they will follow through with the same price adjustment?
Okay. They will be making adjustments, yes.
Okay.
All right. That they might not make the adjustment that is on the table being recommended is something for them to decide. I mean, we cannot fix, as an association, we cannot fix the price of chicken. That's is not in our vocabulary.
No.
So if the producer A and producer B decide not to increase, and they will observe the price, For now, that's fine. If producer C and producer D decide that they will go with the price increase because of, they cannot absorb it, they don't have the reserves to absorb it, then that's fine. But we cannot say everyone will sell the chicken for, let's say, for example, $2 a pound.
Yeah.
And
Right? So you will see differences in the market. So if someone is selling at, for example, 240, the other one is selling at 238, or the other one is selling at 235, you will see that difference. That difference will still be there.
I mean, because there have been times in the past where individual producers would say they'll absorb it.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there are producers who can absorb, and there are producers who cannot absorb.
Yeah.
I mean, let's look at what the economists like to call economies of scale, no?
Okay. What about for the export market?
Okay, the export market, as you all know, we're still in the infant stages. We're still crawling there. We're trying to develop the export market. Late last year in December, we managed to get a container load of poultry products into Grenada.
Okay.
And we're still, the jury is still out on Grenada. We still haven't been able to put in another container load so far. For the simple reason that we have our consumers here, and we want to satisfy everyone at home before we go out again. Why Grenada? Because at the point in time we were already working. It takes a long process. We had like 2 years working with them, trying to get in products in.
Okay.
And some of the excess that was accumulated during the pandemic, we decided to offload that into the export market.
Yeah.
But if we develop the export market, then we will target production to meet that specific market.
Yes.
So it's not like we will be taking away chicken from Belizeans and giving it to the Grenadians. No. We can ramp up production by 50% in 6 months, which means that in a year or two, we can double production to meet any export demand that might come our way. So we're quite sure that we can do this. I mean, we have been studying this scenario. We've been following it up. And at the end of the day, this is where we want to go.
Yeah.
We want to go into the export market. The CARICOM region imports a lot of poultry products into the region.
Yeah.
And they are import from extra-regional sources, which means that sources outside of the region. So if we can trade within the region, then it will be a big plus for us. And why Grenada? And it could have been St. Lucia, it could have been Antigua, Barbuda, but the conditions were more ready for us in Grenada, and the population is small. When we targeted those small island countries, it will allow our industry to grow at a pace that is sustainable. Unlike trying to break into a huge market, for example, like Trinidad, where all of a sudden they would demand and say, okay, well, we don't want a container load per month. We want 100,000 container loads per month.
Wow.
Yeah.
We can't meet that demand. We can't meet it. So we will not fool ourselves. So what we are doing is we're going into the smaller markets first and develop the industry.
Yeah.
And after that, we'll be able to expand more at a pace that allows us to grow with the market.
Yeah.
All right, let's bring it back home so people can understand. What are the price adjustments that we're talking about now?
The price adjustment that we're looking at is 6 cents for whole chicken, 16 cents for cuts, and 10 cents for the special chicken, right? Now, the whole chicken is what the Belizean consumer normally buys and takes home.
Yeah.
And which is why the increase there, when we look at the overall increases, we said, well, you know, that's the one that we least want to touch. I mean, we really didn't want to target that product because we know what the effect it will have.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we had to put that 6 cents there to make up because we couldn't take up the rest any further. The 16 cents per cuts, because the cuts is more like a specialty product.
Yeah.
Right? So people will, how should I say? The people who use the cuts are people who might be more
They're already paying a
able,
bit more.
More able and have a little bit more income to be able to pay a little bit more.
Yeah.
And whereas the special chicken, well, that's the one that normally goes to the restaurants. And you might say, well, what's the difference between special chicken and regular chicken?
Yeah.
Yes.
the regular chicken that goes to the household goes with all the giblets. That's the feet, the liver, the gizzard. The special chicken doesn't have that, so it's just the whole chicken without the giblets.
Oh.
That's a good.
So basically, it's a restaurant's product.
Okay.
Right? It's more like what the restaurant would buy and then cut up and sell it to you as fried or stewed or whatever other food they might be preparing with it.
Okay.
But the whole chicken that goes into the household, like I repeat and I stress, that's the one we agree that we'll take the least hit in that sense.
Okay.
And that is why we're just adding 6 cents
Okay.
to that. And if you look at the average size of bird, we produce between 3.6 and 4 pounds. And therefore, if you take the biggest bird, 4 pounds, and you times that by 6 cents per pound, that's $2.40 being added to that whole chicken. Yeah. That whole chicken, therefore, will increase by $2.40.
Wow.
So if you're getting it right now, let's say for example that if you were before this price increase, it was being sold for $2.33. We finished last year on an average of $2.32, but up to date it has gone up by 1 cent more. It was selling at $2.33.
Okay.
So therefore, with the added in 6 cents, you'll be getting it for $2.39. So we are still not at last year's prices of $2.40.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So $2.39 will take us maybe and help us offset the price of the grains.
Yeah.
And therefore that's what we're looking at. Now, when you look in context of the overall regional market, the cheapest chicken is found in Belize. If you look at chicken prices over the Caribbean, they're way high. For example, in Jamaica, Barbados, Trinidad, Guyana, the price of a whole chicken that goes into the regular household normally sells between 10 and 12 US dollars per bird.
What?
Here in Belize, we have it at $6, between $5 and $6 US. So just to give you an idea how our prices differ, because we are not an importing country with regards to all our feed stuff. These countries, they import all their corn, they import all their soybean, and they also imported the old chicks. They don't have the grandfather flocks the way we have it here in Belize. And there is a market for fertile eggs in the Caribbean, and that's something that we have started to look at, because the Caribbean Poultry Association has asked us to look at that segment of the market and see how we can get into that as well.
Okay.
They currently import around $54 million US dollars of fertile eggs into the region from the US and other sources. And they were telling us, if we can get into that and help them with that, then that would be nice.
Is there going to be any change in the prices of eggs?
No, the prices of eggs is looked at a bit differently, because again, that's the source of protein for most of our lower income households. So the egg prices are not moving in that direction.
Okay.
Okay. So where we are today with the whole chicken, you're looking at $2.39 a pound. You very clearly stated that last year you started off at about $2.44. So it's not what it was a year ago, but nonetheless, given the economic situation, it feels like a pinch. I think when you think of the entrepreneurs and you think of the people who are in the food industry, as you outlined the fluctuations for a regular household, if they're buying a whole chicken, there is a change in what they'll pay. But if you're buying more chicken, whether you're a barbecue salesman or you have a food business, those are the ones that are probably going to feel this.
Well, yes, and they will have to make a decision on how they will offset the cost. I mean, I don't know if they will increase their barbecue by 25 cents or 10 cents or 5 cents. I don't know, and I don't know if we here in Belize tend to think of increases in terms of dollars.
Yeah.
People don't like to hear about 10 cents increase. I mean, if a product increases by 10 cents on the world market, when it comes to Belize, it's already $1.
Yeah.
Belizeans don't, that entrepreneur spirit of dollars and cents, they only look at the dollar.
Yeah.
And they don't look at the cents. And I mean,
well, the cents add up.
There's nothing
Cents
wrong
add
if
up,
you sell a
indeed.
barbecue, for example, rather than if you are selling a barbecue, let's say for $7.50,
Yeah.
right? That you sell it, say, for example, $7.60, but people don't think like that. They would think, I carry it to $6.75 or I take it up to
Yeah.
the next dollar.
Yeah.
Right? And that makes a difference for their consumers and how their consumers respond to their products.
Absolutely.
But I cannot price their products and
Yeah.
I cannot even price our products. So what I normally do is just the PR section of the industry.
Yeah.
I will just take forward whatever proposal is being put on the table and they said, look, you need to run with this to the press and have a conversation and let the Belizeans understand that, yes, we feel their pain and we feel we want them to understand that it's not being inflicted on them because we want to. It's not we want to. There's a need to do it.
I hear what you're saying, that you're just the messenger. But I want to just ask, is the association surprised by the outcry that they're getting with this particular hike? Especially when you outline that it's still not at the cost that it was a year ago. Are they surprised?
Yes, we were surprised, and no, we are not surprised because we know that in life you can't satisfy everyone.
Yeah.
There will always be someone who will challenge whatever position is put forward and will have a following because everybody has a constituency. And they will be the ones making the most noise in the market. However, the idea here is to listen to everyone. And yes, we know that this given the economic condition the country is in, there would be some backlash. We are prepared for that.
Yeah.
But we want like I keep repeating, we want people to understand that it's being done because of certain market conditions. It's not being done because we're trying to recover anything or because we're trying to say, okay, let's see how much we can squeeze out of the Belizean consumer. That's not the point here. The point is we need to offset those costs. And as painful as they are, even for us as producers, as painful as it is, that's the reality on the ground, and we can't do much about it.
Yeah.
It's like, for example, if you are a bakery and the price of flour today is $1 and tomorrow it's $1.50, what you gonna do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have already given Belizeans some assurance that this cost will not be permanent. That it's only a
No, it's
temporary.
not permanent.
Yeah.
It's not.
So based
It's
on
not
your
permanent.
experience,
It's cyclical. It
Yeah.
goes in cycles.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that the regular consumer who buys chicken for their Sunday dinner, so they would see they would see and they can relate to the fluctuation because they will say, oh yes, boy, I remember last year I paid so much for chicken and all.
Yeah.
They remember. So they know that we are not into price gouging. They know that we are not trying to pull a fast one on them. They know and they understand.
Yeah. And based on your experience, this particular hike, how long do you think it'll last? 2 months?
That's what my data is showing me. That
Okay.
for the past years, when I was looking at the data, yeah, it was like a cycle of 2 months.
Okay.
Longest 3 months.
Okay.
That the prices go back down and everyone is happier. Can't say happy, right? Happier.
Okay.
And as you said, it is still, while this is the recommendation coming up from the association, individual producers will make a choice as to
Yes,
how
the
they
individual
will implement.
companies can still make a choice. I
Yeah.
mean, if they feel like they don't want to follow the recommendation of 6 cents, maybe they might want to just stuck on 2 cents. I don't know.
Okay.
Their board will decide.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Well, Armando Cowo, manager, the Belize Poultry Association. Sir, thank you so very much for providing us with clarity as to what to expect, the current situation now, and what to expect going forward. Thank you.
Thank you too, sir.
All right.
We're about to take a break. When we come back, we'll be chit-chatting with reps from Fabregas Belize. Now, what do they do? They'll tell us when we come back.
This COVID update was brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.